right, welcome back to another episode of Beer, Bacon, and Bros. As always, it's Keith and Chris. Tonight we're going to be going into some NFL action. We're going to be talking about the Las Vegas Raiders and their head coach, Josh McDaniels. But before we get into that, make sure you're subscribing to the channel. It's free for you. It really helps us grow the channel. We definitely enjoy interacting with everybody, so make sure you're also dropping some comments and leaving some likes. We definitely would we'll definitely get back to every comment that's left, and the likes really help us out a lot. So, as I was saying, we're going to jump into, is it time for the Raiders to push the panic button on Josh McDaniels because he's at a
2-7 record.
2-7 start to the 2022 NFL campaign. His first year in Las Vegas, by the way. This isn't his first stint as a head coach, though, right? He was the head coach
For the Denver Broncos, yep.
Yeah.
It's been years ago. He was 34 when he was hired by the Denver Broncos, went 8-8 and then 3-9, and then was fired after week 13 in his second season at 34 years old. So 46 now years old. So I guess 12 years later, he's back as a head coach, and it's not going well.
Yeah, which is kind of surprising for what Vegas went out and did to get Devontae Adams and add some pieces on defense and add a couple of the pieces on offense to help that team propel and be where we thought was going to be one of the best conferences in the NFL. You know,
yeah.
Back when we did our preseason predictions, we predicted the AFC West to be the premier league in.
We talked about 10 teams. 4 teams going with 10 wins.
Yeah, that ain't going to happen.
Not for the Broncos or the Raiders.
No. So. I mean, I don't know if I would personally push the panic button. I would be inching closer to it. I don't know if I'd personally be pushing it yet, just because. I mean, I know it's a completely different ball game when you're talking about pros versus like college. You know, college, we want to give coaches at least 2 years to get their players in and everything else like that. But you went out and got arguably the best wide receiver in the game outside of Cooper Kupp, and you haven't been able to do anything.
Yeah.
But my other side of this too would be how much of this is on Josh McDaniels versus how much of this is the current roster that they have.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I feel like coaches get fired when it's not always their fault.
Yeah.
I mean, look at it. I mean, Derek Carr has definitely had some good numbers in the last 3 to 4 years. He's been one of the more premier passers as far as yardage goes. But how much of this is to blame on, let's say, a Derek Carr versus Josh McDaniels, just doing what he's doing what he can with what he's got?
Yeah, I actually completely agree with you. So I hate when a coach gets fired in the first season or gets, the rumors start talking about them being fired. Now, granted, I think some people like Brian Harsin should have never been hired at Auburn. Like, I'll say that, right? That should have been a clear-cut.
Well, after that, they were just waiting on him to do something stupid.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, immediately after the fan base didn't like it, they're like, oh, crap, let me figure out how to get out of this. And, same thing for Will Muschamp in South Carolina. But
yeah. That was because we extended him, too.
Yeah. I hate the fact that people are already talking about wanting to get rid of Josh McDaniels just in his first season, and they're like, oh, he didn't work out with the Broncos when 12 years ago.
Right.
I mean, the guy went 8-8. Sure, he went 3-9 the next season, and everybody was upset about it. But, he's 2-7 with a roster that wasn't his. He got Devontae Adams, which is fantastic, but it hasn't really looked like it's done anything for him. I mean, Derek Carr's literally just throwing the ball at Devontae Adams.
Yeah, that's all they have.
And so, I mean, you talk about Derek Carr. Derek Carr's 31. It's time for them to kind of figure out what they want. And this guy is already 2,700 yards less than he threw for last year. And he's never been more than like a 27 touchdown guy. So,
right.
The 13 touchdowns, while it's low, is kind of on pace for what he typically throws anyway. So, I mean, it's not that I say Derek Carr's underperforming. I want to be clear about that. 62% completion percentage is the worst of his career. A guy that's averaged almost 66 percent on his completion percentage. Is it Josh McDaniels' offense? Is it the lack of team chemistry? Is it you start hearing rumblings now from Derek Carr and Devontae Adams about the players in the locker room not wanting it, not having the right culture, not being the right people. Right. So, what I would love for Josh, honestly, I'd hate to see him go if he does get fired. I think, the Raiders fans should probably have the case open and the button should be flashing and you should be thinking about hitting it, but you shouldn't quite be hitting it yet.
Right, exactly.
I'd love to see him get a second year, blow it up if you need to. Get out the bad fruit out of the garden here, and let's put something together and really turn the ship around.
Right, make some moves to get the team, the roster, the way that you want it to be.
Yeah.
And actually, there's been rumblings and rumors going around the last 2 or 3 years about Derek Carr. Like, do they even want him to be in that locker room to be that quarterback?
He was on the trading block this offseason. I mean, there was a legit chance for if the
Raiders
could get Brady, switching that. And so
we talked
about it being a great pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think Derek Carr would have been really well for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But
yes, I mean, I don't, and that's why I preface this like, would I consider pushing it? Maybe, like you said, have the case open and staring at it. I don't think I'd hit it just yet, because just like you said, I hate when coaches get fired in their first year. Because what have they had to really do? They don't have the time to get their team in there, what they want, their schemes, their everything in there.
Yeah.
So, I would not like to. I wouldn't want to see them go that route and get rid of him this early.
I think, I mean, you have to, at the Raiders at this point, like, you're going to have the number 2 pick because you're 2-7, and only the Houston Texans are worse than you. So, you're going to have the number 2 pick. You're going to have an opportunity to probably draft
a top 3 quarterback.
Or top 3 quarterback. If you want to go that route and you're ready to move on from Derek Carr, you're going to have a chance to draft top 3 quarterback, and have a chance to draft somebody in the secondary because their secondary is horrific.
It's been horrific.
Yeah, it has been horrific for years. So, I think the Raiders, like I said, it's a great saying that we heard from Adam a while back when we were doing one of these videos. Have the case open, have the button flashing, be ready to hit it, but don't quite just hit it yet. So,
right.
That's where I think the Raiders need to be.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, hit us in the comments. Let us know if you think it's time for the Raiders to hit the panic button on Josh McDaniels. And as always, we appreciate you. Like, comment, subscribe.